Hello, my name is Abigail and welcome to or back to Polyglot Progress. So 3 years ago, I made this series of videos with different seasonal inspired language learning activities just as a fun way to share different ways that you could change up your routine if it was feeling a little stale, or just new ways that you could get contact with your target languages. And I made a summer video, I made a fall video, I made a winter video, and then I just stopped. So now, 3 years later, I'm finally back to finish out this series and to give you some fun language learning ideas for probably my favorite season, spring. I always like to start these videos with a study location recommendation, and this time I'm going to keep it pretty simple and just recommend studying at home. And that might sound really boring at first, but spring is a time of change and new growth and spring cleaning, and so I think it can be the perfect time to really create a study space that you look forward to using. Depending on where you live and your own personal layout, this could mean rearranging your home office, tidying up your desk, or even just creating a really cozy spot on your couch to read a book in your target language. It doesn't matter what kind of study space you have, the idea is just to put some sort of intention into it and to make a space where you feel like you can really focus and learn, and that encourages you to keep working on learning your target language. For me, this meant cleaning up my desk space so that way I have a nice place to study languages, and also cleaning up my computer a little bit. I am prone to opening about 500 tabs at a time in about 60 different windows, so it took a little bit of time to make sure that I had a little bit less open for the next time I go to use my computer to learn a language. Keeping with the spring cleaning theme, but moving into things you can do in your target language, you could listen to a podcast or an audiobook in your target language, or just talk to yourself in your target language while you spring clean your house. I personally love listening to podcasts and audiobooks while I clean, so I feel like this is a really perfect way for me to get contact with my target languages, even when my schedule's looking pretty busy. I also just feel like cleaning and language learning make a really perfect pairing. The cleaning is enough to distract you from getting upset or frustrated when you don't understand absolutely everything in whatever you're listening to. And then listening to something or talking to yourself just makes cleaning a lot more fun, so it's a lot less of a mundane chore. And depending on what you're listening to, might even make you look forward to cleaning. And then another spring cleaning related idea, you could spring clean your notebook. Whenever I finish a language learning notebook, I like to take time to distill any vocabulary or grammar that I'm still not super comfortable with into my new notebook or into other things like a flashcard app. But you don't have to wait until you fill a notebook to do that. And also, in my case, I have some notebooks I've filled up that I'm a little bit behind on distilling. So spring is the perfect time to take that vocabulary you're still working on and turn that into flashcards, and take your 10 pages worth of grammar notes on a certain subject and turn that into a really easy to reference 1 page of paper. This activity is really great because it does clean up your notebook and it helps you have easier to reference materials when you need to go back and look at something in the future. And it also helps you continue to relearn the material as you're writing down those notes over again or typing in those words into a flashcard app. And you can use this as an opportunity to act like you're teaching the material, which is a really good way to learn the material yourself. Moving away from spring cleaning, the Oscars are always held in spring, so inspired by that, you could watch Oscar nominees or winners in your target language if there are any, or alternatively watch classic or cult classic or just popular movies in your target language. Movies are a really fun way to work on your listening skills, but I also feel like watching popular and really acclaimed movies is a really good way to get insight into the culture of places that speak your target language, and just give you things that you can talk about with your tutors or friends who speak your target language in the future. Similarly, inspired by April Fools, another great culturally infused way to practice your listening is to watch comedy specials or just comedic TV shows in your target language. Not only will you get to learn more about what comedy is like in your target language, but I also feel like comedy has so many other things that you can learn from it. Oftentimes there's references to pop culture, use of popular sayings, and wordplay, which I feel like is not only a great opportunity to learn new words, but also to remember them. Now, because of all that, I do feel like this suggestion is a little bit better suited for intermediate or advanced learners, but if you use a comedy special or TV show that uses a lot of physical comedy or is directed at a younger audience, I think that this can be a good suggestion for beginners as well. Because spring is a time of new life and new beginnings, it's a great time to try and learn something new. Obviously, learning a new language does check this box, but if you haven't already, why not try sharing this experience with some other people? You could join an online group class through something like Lingoda, or you could attend an in-person language exchange through a meetup group. There are many options. Language learning often becomes a very solitary activity for me, but I always see a lot of benefits when I take a group class or talk with different people than I normally do. And I think group language classes are so great not only for your language skills, but also for boosting your confidence and for offering accountability. So as animals come out of hibernation and leave their homes and go outside, maybe it's time for us to do that as well. If meeting up with the group doesn't really align with your schedule right now, writing letters is another great way to practice your output while also communicating with other people. And if you don't want the commitment of writing writing to one person, you could always write fake letters to an imaginary pen pal and post them on a site like Journaly where you could get feedback and maybe responses from the community at large. Unsurprisingly, as someone who loves warm weather, one of my favorite parts of spring is the nature and the weather, and one way to make the most of that is to learn some new vocabulary and then take a hike or a walk and describe everything that you see and hear and do in your target language. There are so many ways to customize this activity as well. You could do this while you're walking aloud, you could do this in a journal when you get back, you could talk about things on your walk while you're walking and then again when you get back to practice the present and the past tense of any verbs. And it's really flexible in terms of difficulty. If you're a beginner, you can form really simple sentences talking about what you saw, while if you're a little more comfortable in the language, you could describe all of the people you saw and what you think they did after the walk and all of the plants and how they were different from each other. There's lots of room to adapt this and lots of room for creativity, and I think that this is an activity that is really beneficial and also really fun. So you remember when I mentioned new life? Well, yes, that is in reference to new plants and new baby animals and all of the things you probably thought of. That is also in reference to baby me. My birthday is in May, so I've always associated spring and spring weather with my birthday. So even though you might not have those associations, why not, in my honor, make a video speaking in your target language this spring? You don't have to show the video to anyone if you don't want to, but it's a great way to practice your speaking and also really nice to have because in a few months you can look back and see how far you've progressed. And then lastly, also birthday related, you could check your horoscope in your target language. Even if your birthday is not in the spring, horoscopes make really good quick reading practice because they're typically pretty short, but they're also pretty relevant. They use a lot of words that are related to your everyday life since they're telling you what your daily life is going to be like. And overall, I feel like offer the perfect bite-sized piece to let you learn some new things in your target language and get some reading practice without committing to a full article or a book or anything like that. And with that, we finally, 3 years later, come to the end of the last video in this series. If you're looking for more language learning ideas, or if you're in the Southern Hemisphere and looking for my fall video, you can check out this playlist, which has all of my previous seasonal videos, and that'll also be in the description. I also, for the first time ever, made a printable bingo board with all of the suggestions from in this video. I'm planning to do more things like this in the future, but for now, this one is on my website, so if you're interested in that, you can also check out the link for that in the description. If you decide to try out any of these ideas, I'd love to hear how it goes, and also if you have any spring-inspired language learning ideas that you can think of, I'd also love to hear and try out those myself. I'll see you in the next one, and remember, practice makes progress.